if you feel lazy, if you feel unmotivated, if you can't take action, if you lost drive in taking action, I bet you it's not because you lack discipline. I know you think that it's because you lack discipline or you're not disciplined enough and all of that, but trust me, it's not about discipline. And it's not even about you being lazy. It's about the fact that there is a conflict between the two identities. And this is the identity of the ego, which is slowly dissolving, and the identity of the soul and how they do things. Now, before you literally awaken, again, you're acting from the ego, right? Like me, I was very acting from my ego and all of that. And when all of that, my ego started crumbling and dying and kind of like dissolving, now I had to, is like the ego had to grieve that it is melting. And because it is grieving, it can't take action. So it's not about pushing it. You will lose drive. Why? You lose drive because before, the way you were taking action is your actions were driven by the ego, and the drive was from the ego. And the ego is such a powerful tool to drive you to take action, especially when it comes to action that is going to get its needs met, right? So your ego, again, is just the part of self that thinks that it's separate from everyone and from everything. The you that thinks that, oh, this is me and that is you. But if you awaken, you know that that is not true, because the truth is that there's just one spirit, which is what we all are, or who we all are, not what. Now, when the ego is taking action, when it is undissolved, and you have drive, right, before your spiritual awakening, I realize that it is because that drive is coming from the ego. And because the ego is the one that actually literally drives you to take action, the drive is strong. But when you dissolve it, and you're no longer driven by its desires, your need to be seen, your need to be heard, your need to be loved, your need to be validated, your need to belong, your need to for safety, when you're no longer driven by these ego desires, now the ego has nothing to anchor on to drive you to take action, right? And because the ego has nothing to anchor on to drive you to take action, your soul is going to now start trying to lead and show you how to take action. But this is not going to come overnight or suddenly. It's going to come gently. Because when your soul tries to start to teach you to take action, since your soul is not the one that has been leading all along, the ego is actually going to fight. That's the first thing. The first thing that creates this lack of motivation. The ego is going to try to resist and want to take action, want to lead again. And so it's like, no, I'm the one leading. And the ego, who is dissolving, is like a baby throwing tantrum or like a panic mode, and it's panicking. It's like, no, I am the one in control. So because of that, you're going to feel tired because there's that internal conflict. Most of you are going to feel tired. We feel tired. We just want to lay in bed all day. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to create. We don't want to do anything that is not from the heart. We just want to stay. And it's not that we don't want to do things. You want to take action in alignment to your purpose. You want to take action to make money, to get out of maybe the situation that spiritual awakening has led you to, but you don't just have energy. Why? Because your energy that maybe you could be putting into physical work, is actually being used as a result of this internal conflict. And this is why when you are especially in that confusion phase or in the void phase, where you're still confused about, okay, what am I here to do? Who am I? And what is my purpose? And all of that. There's what your ego is going to be telling you to do, and there's what your soul. And because of those clash in interest and ideas, there's going to be this clash, right? And because of that clash, it drains energy. It drains energy somehow. And that's the first thing. Now, the second reason is that since it is your soul that is trying to lead now, you've never really led with your soul before. And leading with the soul is completely different from leading with the ego. It's like doing things the way of the soul is different from doing things from the ego, meaning the how. For example, with the ego is kind of want to know, okay, what are all the step by step? What will I do? What will I get at the end? What is the strategy? And because of that, the brain feels a sense of safety, right? It feels a sense of safety putting itself out there because it has all the things figured out, all the details. For example, when you're writing a post, when you are not awakened, you're going to be like, okay, if you maybe you're an entrepreneur like me, like, okay, this is a post template. I already know I have to start with this, and this post is going to convert, right? But when you are leading with the the soul after awakening, you no longer those rules no longer apply to you, right? You no longer do things from the place of, oh, I'm doing this 5-step process to get this, because the way that the ego and the metrics and the 3D wants you to do things is no longer going to work, and you are going to be required to surrender, and that is hard for the ego, okay, especially at the beginning. So you need to do some work to actually learn to let go, to surrender, and then to act from the spirit. And the next thing is that because taking action from the spirit is not always it's not always predictable. You don't always know what you're going to do. Maybe today spirit might tell you, okay, just share, instead of going and creating 10 steps to do this, just share. Or instead of going on a date to say, okay, I'm going to perform like this, share. Your ego is going to be just your spirit is just going to say share. So, for example, the way that the ego creates is through performance, right? It's going to perform. It performs to seek validation. It performs to seek its good enoughness. It performs to seek attention and to get a sense of worth or a sense of existence or a sense of good enoughness. But the spirit doesn't work that way. The spirit doesn't perform, and the spirit doesn't need to perform, and it has never performed. The spirit is going to tell you, share. For example, for me, this week, I've really been trying to show up and create content because I've been on a spiritual retreat integrating so much. And Spirit just called me to stop being active, especially on social media, and just focus and integrate. And while I'm integrating, Spirit is giving me these intuitive nuggets to actually take action and do these things. But I struggle to do them because there's still a part of my identity that is so used to doing things the way it was. I used to do things in a, like, okay, I need to know this. I used to do things to perform in a performance way, to get likes, to get comments, to make sales, to have, when I've been a business coach for 5 years, right? And being a business coach for 5 years, you learn to do things in a certain way that it becomes engraved in you. So when now Spirit is like, go and share this message, and I'm like, okay, in my mind, subconsciously and automatically, I'm already in the performance mood. I'm already thinking, what is the structure going to be like? How is this going to look like? How is this going to look like? And as a result, I realize that I just get unmotivated because my mind, my ego still want to do things the old way, but my soul is telling me to do things the other way. So, and because my body doesn't want to do things the old way anymore, but my ego is like, do like this. There's this tension. And then before I realize, I no longer want to do it. I feel like I'm confused. I don't even know what to say, how to say it. But as I was meditating today, after I was like, I really want to share something on with my audience, but I don't know what it is. Spirit is like, it's because you're performing. Stop performing and start sharing. Because when we are performing, we're performing with an aim, with a goal. And that goal is an ego-driven goal, a goal to get likes, get comments, get money, get sales, get seen. But when you're sharing, like I'm just flowing today, I'm not really teaching, I'm just sharing. You are not really sharing with the intention of, oh, I want to get likes, I want to get comment. You're sharing from heart to heart. And this is what I've discovered to be the difference between creating before awakening, taking action after awakening. Because before awakening, you're just doing it for the ego, and there may be some heart-centeredness in it, but it's still for the sake of self, right? But when you're after awakening, you realize that all the things that you want to do are no longer going to be for the sake of yourself and for the validation of the ego, but it's going to be for a service to others. And you're going to realize that, for example, performing is because I used to put myself on the pedestal. Okay, as a business coach, I have to say this, say that, or, all these things that we learn. But now, as I'm awakened, I realize that I don't actually have to say this, say that, and try to perform and be someone that I'm not because I want to make money. It's like experience, like you just have to be yourself. And this is the uncomfortable part. It's the uncomfortable part is because we don't want to show up as we are because we were so used to showing up in the suit that is not really who we are. Because showing up with your soul means showing up with your heart. And this is not just in business, it's or in the work that you do or in sharing. It's about in building your legacy, in building the movement that spirit is guiding you to build, and it's in showing up in relationship, in on dating, and even working out, doing all these activities. If we are still doing it from a place of, oh, let me do this because when I do this, then I'm going to be good enough at all of these that the ego hangs on, then there's a lot of resistance. We feel on motivation because the ego is no longer leading. And because the ego is no longer leading, but all the way we know how to do things is from the ego, there's that distortion and that disharmony. And this disharmony and this imbalance creates this loop of feeling like, oh my God, I'm unmotivated. So it's not really like you don't have drive. It's just that the thing that has been driving you is no longer the thing that is driving you. It's not that you are not motivated. Is that the thing that used to motivate you, or the identity that used to be motivate you, which is the ego, is no longer the thing that desire to sit in control now. But now the contrast comes when that thing or that the ego that used to motivate you or give you drive is actually doesn't is no longer the person driving and motivating you, but the way you know how to do things is still the way that the ego needs to do things, used to do things. So this is where now we have to be willing to get vulnerable, fall in our hearts, and fail, and not fail in the sense of the metrics ego of failing, but learn by trusting the spirit one step at a time and putting our feet where we don't know. And this is where we build true surrender, and this is where we build true trust, right? So in a practical way, this is going to look like maybe like me, all the way that you knew how to write, right? Because the best way I was creating content is writing, and writing in this way or running master classes like this, talking about pinpoint and all of this. But now your ego is no longer desiring, oh, I want to be succeed, I want to make $1 million. It's the soul might desire that, but it's no longer the driving thing. The driving thing is fulfilling my purpose, fulfilling my calling, right? And being of service to humanity, regardless of how that is. But that is a driving thing now. That is the motivation now, right? So if you are unmotivated, it's probably because your ego is no longer desiring to be motivated, and you need to figure out and sit in meditation and in contemplation and ask, or get coached to figure out what your soul really, what is really motivating you at the core, and no longer this illusionary or this ego, separate self, right? That used to motivate it. So if you don't have motivation, that is it. It's because the thing that used to demotivate you is dissolved, but now you are not yet figure out what the only thing that will motivate you, which is in your soul. For me, the only thing that will motivate me, and this is based on also working with clients that I've seen, is really going in for their soul mission, building and creating what they came here to be. And for some of you, it's not going to be taking action. It's not going to be creating a business, creating videos. It for some of you is going to be being amazing parents, and that is what you're so came here to do. But if you are actually forcing to actually do something again from a place of the ego, because we are taught, okay, if you do things, then you're successful, you're better, and all of that, and you're still at that place, guess what? You're going to do that thing, and then you're still going to get not be motivated for it. So the first thing is going to be figuring out what motivate you from the soul, or in your soul, what is motivation to you. And the next thing is like now shifting from doing things the way the ego used to do. And this is the challenging part and the part we have to evolve through, because it requires reprogramming, and it requires a lot of consciousness in our activities and in the way we navigate life, right? So it's like if your ego or the separate self used to do things by, okay, I'm doing this because I want to succeed, I want to have the best cars, and I want to be the best, and I want to, all of these things, it's amazing. It's not bad. It's a stage in our evolution. But now when you are taking action and you're like, yeah, I'm taking action because I want to hit 10K cash months, I want to do 50K, or oh my God, I'm taking action because I want my post to be seen and all of that. There's that attachment to the outcome, which is the second thing that you're going to need to learn how to do in order to get motivation to take action. Where we don't do activities for the sake of the outcome that the activity is going to get to us, because that is ego. It does everything with self-interest and with attachment, but we actually take action for the purpose and the sake of the action itself. It's like you're not taking action, or you're not creating content, or you're not showing up on the date because you want that person on the date to be your partner. You're showing up on the date because you probably just enjoy the date in itself, right? You enjoy dating, and you enjoy meeting different characters and seeing different people. Now, that is taking action from detachment. And unless we do this, the motivation to show up and take action doesn't really come, because the ego, again, is going to disguise and hide behind, oh, I want to show up because I want to do this. I want to show up because I want this. It can be easily driven, and it will take the action now, right? Because for its own gratification. But when it's soul and spirit doesn't do things for the outcome that is going to get from doing the thing. It does the thing for the sake of the thing itself. And this is where the second thing, which you need to detach, right? You detach from, okay, I want to do this because I want to get this, or instead for, I want to do this because I enjoy doing it, right? I want to paint because painting is a way of expressing myself. I want to paint for the sake of painting itself, not for the sake of the piece of art that I'm going to sell at the end. So this again require you shifting, the shift in identity. And this is going to be challenging for the ego, because the ego is actually the mind and this body, the part that actually help us, the container that actually help spirit to carry out the action. So we need to kind of like re-educate it and realign it by consciously and slowly redirecting it. That's the word. Now, the third thing that you need to do again is to change the way you act, that how you're taking action. Now, we are talking about the how now, because again, with the ego, for example, from in my case, I used to take action and be like, okay, I'm writing this post. I know that the goal of this post is to make a sale. So of course, I'm going to write this post very strategically, like this, like this, like this. And we're so in the mind and in the head, right? And we disconnect from the heart. But what happened as a result of that is that your soul doesn't enjoy that. And if you're awakened and your heart center is open, and you're now leading from a place of love and conditional love and oneness, that is going to be challenging, because when you think of doing, or if the spirit even gives you, motivates you to do something, but then the how you used to do it is like, okay, I need to put step 1 year, step 2 year, this is what I'm going to say. After that, I'm going to say this. After that, I'm going to say this. You are going to lose motivation, because that is not aligned with how spirit wants you to do it. How spirit wants you to do it maybe would be just speaking from your heart, leading from your heart. Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do this to get this, it's like, I am doing it from my heart, right? And I'll just flow. And this has been the transition for me going from, okay, 4 steps to do this and being strategic to to now be like, I'm just a channel. Spirit speak through me, spirit lead through me, and I'm going to show up and sit in front of the camera. And I'm going to trust that I'm going to start with the one little nugget that you gave me. And from that one little nugget, I'm going to let the rest flow. And no longer am I going to be the creator, like when we are in the ego, especially when we are functioning in the dimension of the fourth dimension, which is the mind dimension, where we are learning a lot about mindset, we are a creator and all of these things. It kind of like amplify the ego because they're like, okay, I'm the creator, so I need to sit and create everything. And like, but the truth is when you awaken, you realize that, hey, you're not actually the creator, right? Like not in a sense of source itself. That's not what I mean, but like you, which is the ego, that's what I'm talking about. You, the ego, is not the creator. You, the ego, is not the creator. It is that is the creator, which is so. And this ego in this body is just a container. So you stop being, I am creating this, to I am the threat, or I, which is the ego, is a channel through which this is created, or the body is a channel through which this is created. So this changes the way you create. And instead of like, okay, how am I going to show up on a date? How am I going to do this? How am I going to work out? 10 steps to doing workout. You start listening to spirit and letting spirit lead through you, do through you, and act through you. And this is when you become the non-doer. And the you again here I'm referring to is the ego. This is where the ego becomes the non-doer. And because at the end of the day, when you are really walking on your spiritual ascension path, you realize that all that there is just the divine. The ego is just a distortion, is just a container who claim to be the content or the real thing. It's like the ego is the water in the cup who claims to is the cup who claims to be the water in the cup. So it's like that you are not the cup, right? You are the water. And everything that there is really just about the water. And you are not the doer. You are a channel. And when you become a channel, when you stop doing and stop trying to do and stop trying to get motivated and start channeling, I think that's the only word I can say it, or start being the artist and let the art flow through you, you're no longer going to need motivation. And this is the thing. Motivation in itself, if we can say motivation in the metrics way of seeing motivation, like, okay, I need to do this, the things, I need something to actually stir me up to do something. That is the ego. The soul doesn't even need that, right? So when we get out of the way, this is how you're going to change how you create. And there's going to be a time period and a transition phase between which you're going to shift from this is, oh, I'm creating from what I am used to now getting into this new way of creation. Because this new creation, as I earlier said, requires surrender. It requires death to ego. It requires not having the full picture, the plan, the step by step, and actually taking the one aligned action one step at a time. And this is why in soul creation, creating from the soul, the strategy is not the strategy of this is how you are going to get to your 50K or 100, whatever. Or this is how you're going to meet your soulmate or your twin flame, or this is how you're going to lose 20,000 pounds. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, do this. It doesn't work. And I bet most of you are still trying to do things the old way. And that's okay because it's simply because you are not yet caught up with the new way. But I just want to remind you that the new way is not about the step by step. It doesn't work. It's about taking the one aligned action today. And this is actually the rule of just take 1% of the aligned action today that spirit is calling you to do. If you feel led to do this, just do it with no attachment. If you feel like to do this, just do it. Just do it without having the full plan. If you feel like to just pull out your phone and make something and share, just do it. But every day, you still have a structure, right? You still have the structure, but it's not the, okay, this is what I need to do every day. No, the structure is, my intention is that every day I'm going to do something that is going to be in alignment to this health. Or if that's something you really are into, or I want to lose this weight, I don't even know why you want to, or I want to be able to get rent for my house, or for my new to travel the world, since I'm feeling spirit calling me to travel. It's not going to be like, this is okay, this is the plan, this is how you're going to do every day. The truth is, if you do it like that, it might work and it will work, but you're going to force yourself and you're going to actually go back into the pattern which your spirit is calling you out of. And it may work, but you're going to still feel empty, unfulfilled, and unhappy. And that's not what we want. So the new way of doing things after spiritual awakening, the new way of taking action is focus on the 1% of the 1% action that you need to take every day. And it's not a specific thing. It's just a commitment of saying that, okay, maybe every day I'm going to do something about my business. For someone like me, that's what I did. Like every day I'm going to do something. It could be share content. It could be build my new website behind, or it could be film a TikTok video, but it's anything, but it's not this plan of 10 types of content you're going to post every day on YouTube, because that is not going to work for you as a spiritual soul, especially when you're no longer leading from a place of trying to be seen, trying to make a point, or the ego. So if they found this helpful and you know someone who might need it, you can share and you can click down to actually check more content. And I am actually working on creating a new, like an integration room or integration portal where we actually come in and integrate spiritual awakening together. If this is something you are interested in or you would like to know more about, you can actually send me an email at sunitankene01@gmail.com. Now, let me know in the chat what your thoughts are. And this is how you actually get out of that lazy or motivation mode after spiritual awakening. Thank you so much, my beloved dear one. We're on this journey together. Know that you're not alone.